Hey guys, I am on the 8.1 PTR that came out today, and I'm going to be looking at the Elemental Shaman changes in action. I won't really be caring about damage done all that much, because it's kind of irrelevant right now, but I will be looking at like playstyle and how things feel. Apparently my camera sensitivity's a little high, but first thing first, the two new talents are the main thing I'm interested in here. We got Surge of Power, and we got Call of Thunder. So just in case you did not already see these, Call of Thunder increases your maximum Maelstrom by 30, and reduces the cost of Earthquake and Earthshock by 10, putting them down to a total of 50. This does stack with the PvP talent Elemental Attunement, as you can see here. It goes all the way up to 180. And Surge of Power is the more interesting one. Earthshock enhances your next spell. So after you Earthshock, you can pick between these four spells to get the enhancement you want. Either you can Flame Shock and it will not incur the cooldown. You can Lightning Bolt, and then your next 3 Lightning Bolts following the Lightning Bolts after your Earthshock will cause additional Elemental Overload. Guaranteed. It's basically Power the Maelstrom from Legion. You can Lava Burst, which will reduce the cooldown of your Elemental by 6 seconds. This applies to Fire or Storm Elemental. And you can Frost Shock, which just roots the target for 6 seconds. So this combination, along with the new Stormkeeper that also increases the damage of the Lightning Bolts by 250%, could be really good for burst damage, because you can Earthshock, Lightning Bolt, and then get the double overload on both of your Stormkeeper charges. And I'll go ahead and show that in action here. So you Earthshock, Lightning Bolt, then you get the buff. Next 3 Lightning Bolts cause extra overload. You pop Stormkeeper, and you get triple overload on both that hit really, really hard. In those, like, 2 globals, I did a lot of damage. Let's see. One of these lightning bolts... Actually, no, I waited long enough to end up leaving combat, I think. Did I? Did I? No, okay, that first crit was the non-empowered one. So I did 10k damage with that, so 30k, 90k. I did 120k damage in 2 globals there. That is a lot of damage, and that is really easy to set up. You can do it all the time. Every 1 minute you can set this up, and even in between the 1 minute periods you have these frequent periods of like extra lightning bolt damage. Or you can flame shock. That didn't seem to work. No, there it is. Okay, I don't know if I just did something wrong there. I wasn't really looking that closely. But you can flame shock multiple things. The buff doesn't seem to last terribly long, though. Let's see exactly how long it lasts on the Lightning Bolt one in particular. You got 15 seconds to spend them, which is, in PvE, going to be totally fine. In PvP with Stormkeeper, that's more than enough. But in PvP, you may not be able to spend those that often without Stormkeeper, but not the biggest deal. And here we got another burst window. If you get crits there, you just own the enemy. I also noticed that if you use 2 charges, then Earthshock again, and then Lightning Bolt, it will use the charge on that Lightning Bolt and still give you another 3 charges, so you can do that. And you can just reduce cooldown on your Elemental. But it's definitely an interesting talent. I really like this for PvP. And then I can kind of see some uses in like Mythic Plus if there's a certain burst window on specific fights that I can't really think of right now. Maybe like the last boss of Shrine or something, you want to burst one of the ads down, you can run Surge of Power. But we'll see how that ends up being tuned and how influential Primal Elementalist is and all that. But those are the 2 new talents kind of in action there. The biggest thing I see these being used for is PvP. Could be really, really good. Now, aside from just like doing damage, the 2 big things this sets you up for in PvP, and something I'm really a big fan of, is this allows you to be a little more self-sufficient, allows you to kind of be the playmaker. Because as it is on live, from my experience, I'm not the most experienced PvP shaman or anything, but from what I can tell, it seems like LA Shamans are very, very good for like supporting a team. They have off heals, they have all these utility totems and stuff, and then they can just kind of randomly burst like 2 or 3 Earthshocks in a row. If they get some crits with Sky Fury, they can kill something. But on their own, they don't really do much. They do some damage, they do some bursts, and they just do a whole bunch of utility. This allows us to spec into doing a lot of damage at once. It allows us to kind of be the ones that make the play, be the ones that start the burst window or something like that. We don't just have to be utility. It kind of gives us the option to be something else too. So that's really cool for these. I definitely see a lot of potential for Ellie in PvP in 8.1. Even if it gets nerfed, it's still like, as long as the burst window is still there, it's improvement over live for me. So sometime soon I would like to do some like skirmishes or even just basic duels, as long as both people are trying, to kind of see how this ends up actually working in practice. Unfortunately, it's like 2 in the morning right now, so no one's actually on to do that. But if I end up being able to do that, I'll definitely be uploading that as well. So anyways, just to reiterate, I don't really care about actual damage breakdowns right now, other than just like lightning bolt's going to be a bigger bigger factor, or whatever. It's going to be a bigger part of your damage. There we go, not party. But other than that, I don't really care how much damage you're doing, because tuning is kind of a separate process. But I do kind of care about like how we feel, and thematically like potential in PvP or whatever else. So things like that do matter to me, but damage really doesn't. And just to kind of reiterate while I'm doing this, just to see a damage breakdown at the end, I do like the changes. I think I just didn't have flame shock up on my cores, but I do like the changes, but I still feel like it's not really enough. It feels like there's a couple of key changes that are missing. Like, the spec feels like at a base level it is severely lacking in something, which is a pretty big problem for me, especially. In particular, I don't know. Maybe other people feel the same, I'm not really sure. But I feel like the spec itself is lacking something. It doesn't really have any flavor to it. There's no like particular interaction we're trying to work around. Like pretty much every other spec I've played has some sort of interaction or something that they're attempting to achieve at any given time, no matter what talents they go, no matter what traits they have this particular thing. I just messed that up pretty bad. I'm trying to figure out, I keep somehow messing that up. But anyways, there's like something they're working for at all times. Like Unholy DK has their debuffs on the enemies that they break, the spores or whatever they call it. I can't remember what they're called right now. Affliction has like the dots and the UA, increasing damage of all other dots by like 10%, so they're constantly trying to keep one UA up. You also have Death Bolt, which is super nice interaction, granted that is a talent. But then you look at Elemental Shaman, and there's just like nothing really there. At a baseline level, all you're really doing is just hitting buttons in a particular priority with no other thought really involved. It's actually just that. It's just, in this priority is what I'm going to be using these buttons in, and that's the only thing I have to think about. But anyways, that's just kind of like a little summary of what I think. Okay, am I crazy, or is this just like not working half the time? It's not working. Oh wait, it's because of this, isn't it? Okay, so if a spell's currently traveling, and then you Earth Shock, it actually counts that one. Let me test that. Yeah, okay, that's how that's why I was so confused. Figured that out. Well, yeah. I keep getting distracted. Yeah, to summarize, I feel like LA doesn't really have any particular special interaction or anything to like make it feel like it's unique. There's no particular thought-provoking action that you need to take. It's all just kind of like I use Lava Burst when it's off cooldown. Surge of Power allows you to kind of like do something special with Earth Shock at least, but it's still kind of just you use Earth Shock at some point between full Maelstrom and 60. Nothing else really going on there. But this patch was kind of, we were hoping that would alleviate that. My personal preference would have been the baseline Echo and baseline Master of the Elements, along with a proc on Chain Lightning to add Lava Burst into your AB rotation somehow, like whether it be splash damage or something like that. And that way you're constantly trying to master the elements on your Earth Shocks and your Earthquakes. That would be my ideal spec for Ellie right now. Something along those lines, but it seems like they're going a different direction with it. They're going more for Lightning. But there isn't really anything engaging about the Lightning build right now. But, yeah, that's just my thoughts on this right now. I'm hoping to see more in the future. They did kind of allude to the fact that things could very well change and there could be more added. We just don't really know right now. But, anyways, I think so before we end this, I wanted to take a look at the damage breakdown from that little 3-minute thing I was doing, whatever that was. Turns out I didn't mess up that. Okay, well. Love Burst on top. Lightning Bolt and Lightning Bolt Overload, basically tied with Earth Shock. This is really cool damage breakdown because everything is so close. Why is there another Lava Burst? Overloads? I'm guessing that's Overloads, and it's just bugged. But, we got Lava Burst, Lightning Bolt Overload, Earth Shock, Lightning Bolt. Everything's pretty close. The big thing about the change with Lightning Bolt and Earth Shock is this allows them to really put us into that position I think they want us to be in, where we do good damage when we're standing still, and we're properly managing movement. But when we have to move a lot, if we don't manage it properly, our damage will fall. I think that's where they want us to be. I have no proof of this other than just changes, but buffing Earth Shock and nerfing, or buffing Lightning Bolt rather, and nerfing Earth Shock, I don't think that was just thematic. I think that was more like a, well, Earth Shock is instant cast on the move, Lightning Bolt is standing still, so they kind of want to reward you more for standing still. They want to reward you for properly positioning yourself and moving properly. The things that Call the Thunder also reward you for pooling properly. You can use Earth Shock while you're moving. Surge of Power is kind of similar, I guess. Reward you for like using Earth Shock properly in the sense that you can use things after it and weave in different spells. But I do see us going in that direction, and then of course the 15% buff to Chain Lightning and Earthquake, and that was announced recently. I'll make a different video going over that a little more in depth, but that could be more of an AoE thing, so we don't really know where they want us to be right now. I can only guess they want us to be like a patchwork kind of thing for our single target anyway. And then if you manage moving properly, then you could do a little better on movement, but we'll see how it ends up. This is a pretty cool damage breakdown though, because everything is so close. There's nothing like dominating, so it's kind of nice. But anyways, that is it for now. I just wanted to take a look at PTR and test these things in action and see how they felt. And then hopefully I'll be able to do some PvP soon and see how it feels there, and see if I can just one-shot someone in a duel or something, especially if they're actually trying, and I can see if I can actually pull it off with someone actively trying to prevent it. See what happens there. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you guys are excited for the changes. I know I am excited for these changes, but I'm also a little disappointed about the lack of additional changes, but the ones that we have are pretty cool. So anyways, see you guys later. Peace.